Heyo everybody, Haku here with my next read through for Magical Girl Raising Project JOKERS, or Mahou Shoujo Ikusei Keikaku of course, Chapter 2 Part 2, and for Chapter 2 Part 2 I ended at around page 17 I think, towards the end of page 17 maybe, and I'm going to be going to page 35 I believe it is, but there's also a scene break on page 37, so if I'm at 35 and I feel like reading 2 more pages, I might just go all the way to 37, and then the last 11 to 13 pages will be the third part. And the reason I'm splitting it up kind of like that is because I know there's basically like an empty page and then an illustration on this one. Again, I haven't looked at it yet. I just scroll through really quick to see how many empty pages, or to see where I should split everything up. And there's nothing like that, and it's all just full blocky text for the last few pages. So the last one I want to do less pages, and they'll probably still end up the same length. So yeah, this will probably be a good 40-45 minutes. Probably. I don't know, it's hard to judge things. But let's go ahead and read Chapter 2 Part 2, starting at page 17. With Filuru, and the last time we didn't really get introduced to Filuru. We didn't get to know much about them, or much about or anything about what they look like or anything. I thought about what kind of character designs they could be. I already, like I said, I was not really, I don't want to call it spoiled, but I already knew Shufflin's name going into this. And in addition to me already knowing Shufflin's name, Filuru doesn't seem like it would be the queen-looking character's name. It doesn't seem like it would be the character I've been calling Carnival's name. I could see it being the poison-ish looking one with the bubbles. I could see it being hers, or I could see it being the like knitting one. I could see it being hers. So one of those two is Filuru. If I were to guess, I'd say maybe the knitting-looking one over the poison-looking one, but it could go either way. And then, other than them, who we didn't really get to see or learn much about, we got to see the kind of head of the Foreign Affairs Division, kind of trying to be head of the Foreign Affairs Division, sort of attempting to fill in Malpom's gap she left behind. Lady Proud, we got to see her and what she was doing, going to look for these, I guess everybody really is going to look for the artificial magical girls, which is sad. I hope they don't end up killing each other, because none of them seem like particularly evil or anything, to tell the truth, and I really like the pure elements. But yeah, Lady Proud and Umbrain, who is kind of basically Lady Proud's sidekick at this point, kind of. That's basically the role they had. And then in addition to that, we learned about Marika Fukuroi, I believe was her name. It's a difficult Japanese name, I don't know. But the flower vendor, a member of Malpom School, who everybody dislikes. And maybe, is she a member or a former member? I can't quite remember if she got kicked out or anything or not. But at least a member of Malpom School. And then she went off with Styler Mimi, who wasn't technically part of Malpom School, but worked for them as sort of their, I don't know, fashion consultant, in a way. So, we have them. They're going off to do their thing. And we're starting off on page 17 with Filuru. So, I guess I'm here somehow, she thought. Even when she was traveling abroad, she somehow ended up going to the area. She's never thought that she'd somehow make it to an area before. She's never had to carefully do preliminary investigations first. Even when she got lost, she never lost her destination. By the time she arrived in S City, it was already 11 o'clock at night. The day was already over, as the residential areas only had dim lighting. The entertainment district was still lively. She looked around her surroundings from the tallest building and had a rough idea of the area. There were rules to living life as a magical girl, and from those rules a theory was created. Magical girls should be wary of people seeing them. If they can, avoid being spotted at all. Other than saving people, their actions have to affect someone as well. Fixing streetlights, erasing gravity, all of that would be meaningless if there was nobody living nearby. She was careful of others watching, and if it didn't affect anyone else, she wouldn't do any work. Compared to any other occupation, hers was a special job. The closest thing to her job was a thief or cat burglar, probably. Either way, high places had many uses to magical girls, running across electrical wires, jumping to the roof of public baths, moving from the public baths signboard to an apartment, climbing up the rooftops of that apartment, jumping to another building's rooftop from the apartment, climbing to the roof of a business school, then to the traffic lights, jumping lower every now and then, moving to the residential area, running through houses, temples, and from there, aiming for a tall spot, running around clockwise through the city, then returning to the tallest building. She opened her right hand, then her left hand. She looked for anyone around her. Nobody here. However, to Filuru's eyes, she can see the sparkling light of thin threads reflecting the stars. Each thread was connected to one finger, all growing from the tall building to S cities, downtown and residential areas. Okay, so safe to say she is the knitting one. Filuru's magical skill was sewing. No matter what it was, she was able to sew through it, whether it be steel, concrete, special alloys. Even the bodies of magical girls were no exception. She could sew through them all. Her needles also did no damage to anything. There was no pain either. Because of that, she could do something like sewing through her own fingers. While opening both of her hands, she closed it to her ears. Filuru's threads were invisible. Not even the most powerful magical girl could break it either. It was both supple and highly sensitive. Really, really an OP power, to tell you the truth. Like it said, she has no offensive capability, but when it comes to just, sheer usefulness, it's possibly the most effective power there is. But either way, it was both supple and highly sensitive. Other than for restraining prisoners, she could also create booby traps with her string or set an alarm device for intruders to trip on. She sewed threads across the tallest building. From there, if anything happened, for example, if there was a creature that ran extremely fast, then Filuru would be able to sense it. There were a total of 10 threads. Furthermore, Filuru could hear the sound the threads make. Alrighty, let's see where you are. 30 minutes have passed. Filuru continued to wait and stare. Impatience would be her worst enemy. Trapping something is similar to waiting. It'll be ruined if she acted on impatience. Then 1 hour has passed. Still more she can wait longer. Back in prison, her biggest job was... Oh yeah, we did learn that she had lost her job in prison. Her biggest job was waiting in case some emergency would happen, even though nothing ever happened. At this point, she doesn't even flinch if there were some sounds that perked up. She's used to waiting. 3 hours had passed. The sky was whitening. There was nothing here. There were people other than magical girls who went to rooftops during the day. Filuru recovered her threads and ran down the building. When daytime came, Filuru would sit in a hotel and watch TV. If she had books, she'd read them. She'd just kill time. This kind of liveliness was important to Filuru. It's not like she was killing time because she liked to kill time. She had to mentally concentrate at nighttime, so she needed to relax her thought in the day to prepare for the night. By chance, she came across a soap opera's first episode on TV. It was a soap opera dealing with a love triangle between nurses, doctors, and patients. It was pretty interesting. Night. Nothing happened. Day, she watched the soap opera, then used her magical phone to go to an anonymous bulletin board to post impressions. Night. Nothing happened. Day, she continued watching the soap opera. No way, the main heroine just had an accidental death. What's going to happen now? She couldn't wait until tomorrow. Night. Nothing happened. Day. She went down to the post office to save money. It was less than she thought. She had accommodations in a business hotel by price, but at this rate it's not going to be good. Even if she got a job to capture man-made magical girls, it doesn't mean she'd be paid immediately. In the soap opera, the wife of the doctor appeared. She was played by a famous actress that even Filuru knew about. Wonder how she'll be involved. Night. Even though she thought she'd lose to impatience, she kept on being patient. She was a magical girl tied up by the invisible threads of money. She might be entrapping herself by assuming that these man-made magical girls are performing ordinary magical girl duties, but if they were man-made magical girls, then wouldn't they be doing ordinary magical girl activities, right? If there was a lab, wouldn't they be studied like guinea pigs there? She might be fishing in a pond where there aren't even any fish. No, it wasn't the pond that had no fish. In a city as large as this, it would be weird to not have a magical girl be in charge. What would that magical girl think of intruders who blatantly place traps all over her city? It wouldn't be strange if they started a fight over it. It won't be amusing if it went into a fight. It'd be okay if it just ended on a skirmish, if she reported it to her superiors with a smile. That'd be worse. If she reported it without telling Filuru, that'd be worse than worst. Either way, she had to remind herself to keep moving forward. She kept waiting on top of the building without shedding a tear. Sometimes she'd think, was this just a prank? But she didn't want to indulge on that now. She's already been consuming fees for her accommodations. Thinking about negative things all the time reminded her of her daytime soap opera. The doctor's wife didn't seem very good, but that might just be misleading. Aw, I like Filuru. Okay, let me get some water before we move on to Prism Cherry. Okay, so we got some brief intros, and it looks like we're going straight back to some of the girls from last time around with Prism Cherry. And we are on page 21. Prism Cherry. Acting together with the pure elements made her roughly know the range of their activities, that range being wherever the disruptors appeared. Disruptors only appeared in areas not filled with people, mostly Mount Takatoko, or Mount Chinen, or Mount Fukuroku. Either way, it's the mountains. The pure elements would leave from their base to the mountains. After examining the disruptors, they'd return to the laboratory. They'd prepare for the next sortie for disruptors, while she recorded the times and places where the disruptors appeared in a map book. The laboratory, disruptor appearance points, and the route that the pure elements take to exterminate the disruptors, they were all outside Prism Cherry's area of responsibility. That makes sense. So Cherry's never encountered any of them. At the same time, she was convinced. If Prism Cherry ever encountered the disruptors alone, she'd become the first victim. She was glad she wasn't the kind of magical girl with motivations like, I'll find people even outside my area to save. Cherry, what you looking at? She turned around and saw Quake staring at the map book. I thought I'd record where the disruptors showed up in the time frame. If we can make forecasts, we can go out faster, right? Ah, so you have been thinking about it. What's up, guys? Inferno placed her manga down and looked this way. Oh, it's just Cherry. She's recording the times and places when disruptors appear. Wow, I can't do that. That'd be impossible for me. Me too. All I can do is sketch the disruptors. What? You do that? Let me see. Oh, it's not the kind of drawings I let people see. Oh, lewd disruptor art. Oh my god, I freaking love Quake so much. Don't say that. Come on, let me see. I'll be a critic. I'll give you critique. But I don't want my drawings to be criticized. The two of them were joking around together. Cherry looked at the map book. It's freaking Quake. Looked at the map book once more. When she saw it, she saw how cleanly the disruptors appeared outside her area. I can't stop giggling over the thought of Quake drawing lewd disruptors, damn it. Cherry looked at the map book once more. When she saw it, she saw how cleanly the disruptors appeared outside of her area. If the disruptors' appearances changed, if they came knocking at her area, Prism Cherry probably wouldn't be here right now. By chance, she looked at her smartphone's time. It's time for medicine soon. By the way, Deluge and Tempest haven't been back yet. It's just a recovery mission. They shouldn't be taking so long. Wonder what they're doing. More importantly, show me your sketches. Sketches! I told you, they're not for public viewing. So good. So now we're jumping to Princess Deluge. I think I'll be good to read without taking a sip of water this time. Okay, so Princess Deluge. Disruptors don't simply end after they've been defeated. A few days to a week after a disruptor's been defeated, an alarm on the laboratory will ring. That's the sign that it's time for the disruptor recovery period. Disruptors have strong life forces and regenerative capabilities. They weren't something that could be left alone, but after they're defeated, they become a stain on the ground that can't be collected. Afterwards, after a certain amount of time, they once again become a shape that can be collected and taken back to the lab. After recovery, the disruptors were given specialized treatments so they could be used in a variety of applications. And since it was also able to be used to save the city, they're killing two birds with one stone. Strategy was important, and considering their safety, at least two people within the pure elements must participate in this. At first, all of them recovered disruptors, but since there never really was anything that happened, nowadays only two people who lost in a game had to go out. The winners and losers of the game don't really change that much. Sometimes the winning percentages were fixed. Since Deluge barely gets out, sometimes she intentionally loses. If only someone specific kept getting picked in the game, it'd just make the feeling worse. This time, Deluge and Tempest lost. Although it wasn't officially recorded, Tempest's win rate was very low. Since she was an elementary school student, there are things she couldn't do, even in board games or video games. Recovery always went smoothly. Afterwards, they'd return to the lab. Next time, I'll play one of my favorite games. While she was chatting, she half-twisted in the air. She also would go inside the hallways using only her flying abilities. Deluge ran across the buildings while listening. "What's your favorite game, Tempest?" "Shogi. It's all the rage in class now. The boys all have shogi manga." "Oh, you know how to play shogi. Do you know strategies and stuff, too?" "I'm good at making it so that the opponents can't move in the end." You play Hasami shogi?" "Yep, I can make it so they get sandwiched. It's not really shogi, but it's kinda like a puzzle." "Ah, yeah, that's true. Hang on a minute." Tempest, who flew like the wind, stopped suddenly. She heard something. It's late night at the rooftop of a building. It's a strange time and place to be called out and stopped by a human. She sharpened her ears and looked around her surroundings. She did hear something. It would be strange to blame her imagination. Tempest returned from her strange look on her face. "What's up?" "I heard a voice, didn't you?" "A voice?" Tempest lifted her bunched-up hair and exposed her ears. "Now that you mention it..." Her facial expressions changed. Her serious expression now looking for a person far away from her. Deluge was also looking. Something was moving along the buildings, and this time they could clearly hear a voice. "I finally found you," was what they heard. Then they heard footsteps. Tap, tap, tap. They got closer. Deluge called out her trident. Tempest also called out her boomerang. They soon found the person who spoke. I finally found you." She had a strangely crying-looking face. There was a cute laced headdress on her head. It wasn't a tiara with a gem, not to mention she was rolling 2 thread balls. Giant dummy pins were stuck on them. Her front top was adjustable with some straps. Her sleeves were knitted complicatedly. Her light purple hair was also knitted together in a complex shape. It was a girl. Her body and facial features were also beautiful. Was this a magical girl? She didn't have a princess jewel, however Prism Cherry was the same. Magical girls probably didn't all share the same features. She was cute, and she had fantastical clothing, and she was beautiful. And the way she ran on buildings at night only confirmed it. "Are you people going back to a lab?" "Yeah, but who are you?" The girl made a gutsy pose with pleasure. Suddenly she shouted out with joy, which made Deluge retreat unintentionally. Tempest also rose 5 meters to the sky slowly. She came back down to check on the girl. Something wrong?" Yes, now I can pay my hotel bills." Deluge locked eyes with Tempest. She had no idea what this girl's talking about. She didn't know how hotel fees are related to them at all. The girl was shouting out deeply. She wasn't trying to hide her joy, and Deluge, who had no idea why she was happy, retreated half a step. "So you came all the way out here?" Deluge jumped. She had her back on the railing to her right. Suddenly there was a voice. This time it was close by. Without hearing even a sound or a voice beforehand, Tempest was on her right. Deluge had a weapon on her left. The joyful girl also had a surprised look on her face as she looked at the new arrivals. Deluge thought she was floating like Tempest, but she wasn't. She was wrapped in some kind of transparent membrane. Black overalls with slits in them, animal-like horns, semi-transparent purple-colored butterfly wings on her back. Okay, so this is the poisony looking one. Purple-colored butterfly wings on her back. The white trumpet she had also had black butterfly decorations. There was something that looked like either headphones or a headband translucent on her head. Her facial features were perfect, yet it seemed like her expression was stuck on something. "The laboratory tells me everything. You're man-made magical girls, aren't you?" The thread girl furrowed her brows. The black overalls girl snapped her fingers. The transparent film wrapping the girl broke and disappeared. She landed on the railing. The overalls girl looked at the thread girl and smiled. "You're a freelancer, aren't you? I'm one too. You see, first come, first serve, right? A freelancer's rules." The thread girl roughly responded to her. "If it's first come, first served, then I found them first." If you found them first, you shouldn't have screamed so loudly then, should you? A third magical girl had a sinister look about her. A white chrysanthemum wreath on her head, a black dress. There were some camellia flowers scattered on the dress. Her back was something that looked like a blackbird's, possibly a crow's wings. Okay, so this is the Yatagarasu one. Her wings were flapping as she was hovering. Her face was covered up by a black veil. Okay, so Filuru and the other two, these probably don't work for any of the factions directly. They're all doing their own thing, which is different than what's going on with Umbrain and Lady Proud, who work for the Foreign Affairs Division. Okay, wings. Okay, hovering. Her face was covered up by a black veil, so her expression was invisible. However, her voice sounded like she was having fun. Were all of these magical girls? They look like they knew each other. My, have room for one more. Isn't it funny for someone who wants to monopolize something to scream so loudly that everyone shows up? But I found them first. You could argue that the one who discovered a new continent wasn't Columbus, but was the man in the crow's nest. Or should the carpenter that built the ship get the credit? What about the natives who lived on the island? This is completely different from that. Oh my, were you trying to deceive us? How rotten. I'm not trying to deceive you, this is my life on the line. Then what should we do? What do you think? When prey are cornered, they'll bite back powerfully. That's how freelancers are, right? Actually, that's how the world in general is like. Deluge and Tempest began to move to the edge of the building. They weren't frightened or cowering, they wanted to know exactly what was going on. Deluge whispered out, "Let's do luxury mode," and Tempest whispered back, "I don't get what they're saying at all, but yeah." These girls' questions and answers were getting worse. Not to mention their motive was clear. Their reasoning wasn't, but these girls were aiming for Deluge and Tempest. I don't recommend using force. I'm very powerful. Okay, now we're seeing an illustration. Here it is. Alright, so at the top we have Deluge and Tempest. Alright, and then down below we have the three of them. We got Filuru in the center with, I guess I'll still call her Yatagarasu, to the left there. And then to the right is the poison girl. Interesting. I really like Filuru though. My, dear me. The morning girl had held her arms in front of her chest. The overalls girl brought her trumpet to her mouth. The thread girl held her sewing needle on her right hand as the air began to shimmer. Tempest and Deluge shouted out. They're all just going to fight each other. Luxury mode on. The three of them seemed to think Deluge and Tempest as prey. That means their enemies were hunters. Their prey were their prizes, but unfortunately they wouldn't reach them. Tempest threw her boomerang to Overalls. At the same time she dived into Morning Girl. The Morning Girl grunted as she took a headbutt and was blown away, sending her crashing through the glass window to the next building. Overalls, they could just try to talk things out. Overalls kept her head down on the rooftop, the boomerang flowing overhead. However, Tempest wasn't trying to hit her. It was meant to be a decoy. The real threat was Deluge. Deluge rushed towards Overalls. She didn't give her opponent any time to stand. There was only a limited amount of time she could use luxury mode in a day. However, when she did, her exhaustion, fierceness, power, and speed jumped up compared to her normal state. She tried to kick Overalls on the chin as she was laying down, but the bubbles produced by the Overalls trumpet stopped her. It wasn't a trumpet, it was a bubble blower. The bubble didn't pop as it received the shock, but it couldn't stop the impact entirely. Overall's head bounced upwards through her bubble, and Deluge smacked her on the back with the butt of her trident, making her fall back down again. She tried to trample her, but since Overall slid away, Deluge trampled concrete. Overall spread out countless bubbles where she moved. She seemed to have slid and moved atop the bubbles. She saw Tempest jump into the crashed window, chasing after the Morning Girl. Deluge felt the hair on her back slightly shake. Deluge immediately held up her right hand, turning her heel on its axis, and blocked a high kick from Thread's girl. There was a slight numbness on her right arm. Okay. Thread's attack was strong and fast, so Thread's was like that too. Overalls also had good reflexes. If she was in her normal form, she might struggle to escape. She was right to quickly use luxury mode. She held down Thread's foot with the butt of her trident. thrusting on threads with her right hand, before Thread suddenly backflipped into the air. Then, without even touching the ground, she jumped into midair. Suddenly, bubbles came to block her vision. Deluge twirled her trident, blowing away the bubbles. Thread's overalls both disappeared in the opening made by the bubbles blocking her vision. Did they escape? Okay. Tempest returned from the crashed window. Luxury mode already dissipated. Her expression was sour. She got away. Boring. Mine got away too. They won in power and speed. However, their opponents were probably more superior in judging the situation. The three of them clearly didn't just become magical girls recently. They wouldn't challenge an unbeatable opponent. When they escaped, they thought nothing but escaping. Either way, since she didn't know who they were, Deluge felt restless. They said they were freelancers, but what exactly are freelancers? What are man-made magical girls? Why were Deluge and Tempest targeted? She better talk to the others about this. Alright, so now we're at the end of page 31, or beginning of 32, I believe. I think, either way, we're jumping to Princess Inferno. Yes, the end of page 31. With Princess Inferno. Inferno regretted hearing the report from the two girls who came back late. Ooh, sorry, I just spit. From the two girls who came back late. What's with this interesting development? If I knew that, I'd volunteer for recovery. Of course, the person who hates recovery the most would say that. Although her tone was indignant, Tempest seemed like she was having fun. She enjoyed the development of these three unnamed magical girls attacking them. That is pretty fun, she thought. It was far more exciting than exterminating disruptors or everyday training. Quake distorted her lips as if she was worried. What are you talking about? What do you mean they're targeting us? Deluge was also quite worried. Yes, they said we were prey, but it doesn't look like they know where the lab is. You weren't followed, were you? I flew up as high as I could and looked down. I didn't see no one come. Do you think it'll be fun if someone actually followed us back, Inferno? What do you think? Oh man, that would be fun. This isn't a laughing matter. Deluge, Quake, both of them were very upset, but Prism Cherry just looked shocked. Her face was expressionless, keeping her mouth shut. She was thinking of something. Cherry should probably tell him the truth. Princess Inferno thought this would be interesting, but Prism Cherry was probably worried. Although these people were driven away by Deluge and Tempest, Prism Cherry had none of the battle abilities of those two. She also neither had luxury mode nor any unique weapons. If she were attacked, then she'd easily become those people's prey. Everyone was thinking of that. It's a little early, but why don't we call it a day? No one declined Quake's offer. Everyone agreed to disband early. Prism Cherry decided to be escorted by Deluge. Quake said goodbye at the factory. Okay. Quake said goodbye at the factory. Tempest followed along until she was closer to her own house. Next month, we're going to Mount Haku at the children's meetup. Next month, huh? I used to do it every year, but I've been doing it less and less. You coming, Akane-chan? Maybe. It's before my exam, so my mom's probably going to stop me. Alright. Tempest hung her head down, only a little. Well, okay, hold on. Okay, Tempest hung her head down only a little. I see. Well, I guess you can't really do much if it's exams. She said that as she smiled. Okay. Now we have Princess Quake, yes, Princess Quake. When she worried that they had been attacked by a mysterious foe, her first thoughts were that of worry. She wondered if Tempest and Deluge were hurt, but when she heard that they said their enemies weren't that tough and she saw Tempest bragging about it, she was relieved. After relief came curiosity. The appearance of new enemies weren't just something limited to magical girl anime. It's a common story development in a variety of battle shows. What kind of enemies were they, and what were their objectives? 3 magical girls, she was very interested. Their appearance was only described roughly. She imagined out the details as she sketched, and then she'll gradually fix it up. Would this end up looking like the real thing, or was the real thing still different? So professional is what Tempest said. Despite having the look of a petite girl, they seemed professional. She was deeply interested. Their activities as the pure elements were valuable time that they used, yet she still had precious time for her sketchbook alone in this room. She removed her sketchbook from her closet, the fluorescent lights shimmering as she drew. Chico clicked her tongue as she looked up. One of the two lights turned black. The one with remaining power also began to flicker like a fire lamp in the wind, repeating. She had no more in stock. There was also no shop she could go to buy spares at this hour. Princess mode on. At a loss, she transformed into Princess Quake. Now she can see in the dark of night, even if the lights turned off. She stuffed her tail under a cushion, once again stroking in her sketchbook with her pencil. The mysterious magical girls opposing Deluge and Tempest dancing freely in the air. Deluge waving her trident as she sparked with frost. Her imagination became stimulated. She continued to draw until her pencil ran out. Then she sharpened it a second time. There were still some more to her sketchbook that she hasn't filled up yet. Even then, she'd take out a brand new sketchbook and begin drawing on it. She let slip that she drew on sketchbooks. Inferno wanted to see it badly. The girl wasn't really selfish, but she was someone who insisted on her own way. Contrary to her gyaru-like appearance, she was actually very firm, loyal, yet she also didn't like thinking too hard on things. She lacked the subtlety to understand Quake's circumstances on why she didn't want to show her drawings. Oh gosh. But that part of her was appealing too. But even if she liked that part of her, she still wouldn't show her drawings. Rather, she can't show it. The disruptors that she drew were just a bonus. Her main subjects were the pure elements, and there were some unusual amounts of self-portraits. Oh god. Not only that, but she also sketched the elementary schoolers at the local park's pool, and any cute girls that she passed by, which seemed pretty criminal-like. If she showed these, her authority as a leader will be lost. Then she'd probably be expelled from the pure elements. She didn't want to be robbed of the life she'd been given. The unusual amount of self-portraits. God, I freaking love Princess Quake so much. Which means she had to prepare a fake sketchbook to show Inferno. She'll be as reasonable and moderate as possible, filling it with safe objects, while suppressing her inner self that tended to go wild at these things. She began to draw. She realized how hard it was to try and continue being a magical girl. Oh gosh. So, I think I can read through 35 and 36. Let me see what my time is at. Yeah, I'm only at 30 minutes. I can read a few more pages. So let's continue on for a few more pages. Since I'm not going to be able to get this up tonight anyway, and I'm going to have to post it Wednesday morning anyway. So we have Princess Tempest now. Let me get a sip of water first, though, just to be safe. Princess Tempest. Good things are beginning to overlap. Having new mysterious enemies are essential for development in a magical girl anime. She felt nothing but blessed to be fighting those opponents. She was a bit scared, but when she fought them for real, they weren't really that powerful at all. They can make openings if they use luxury mode. They could probably do that when they're in normal states. No, they'd definitely still win in their normal states. She guessed that she could even win if their enemies weren't careless. Then, there's more good things. Akari's not coming to the trip next month. Whether or not she will, her mom probably wouldn't let her help out in a children's gathering when she's so close to her exams. It's well known in the neighborhood that she's worried about her daughter's grades all the time. With Akari gone, no one's going to mess with her. She can finally carry out the plan she'd been warming up way back when. She had planned to keep warming up that plan forever since she became a magical girl. It wouldn't be bad to say that this was the reason for her to become a magical girl. It was a wonderful and novel plan. First, during the children's gathering, Maeve will try to make up some reason or another to skip. Then she'll transform into Princess Tempest and follow the children's gathering. Of course, she wouldn't forget to bring a change of clothes, switch into everyday life clothing, because a magical girl costume in the middle of the mountains are too conspicuous. Then she'll pretend like it's a coincidence that she stumbled on the gathering at Mount Haku. She'll meet with Sho Minamida. Since Akari won't be there, nobody will stop Tempest. She'll knock out Sho with Tempest's charms. Then they'll be able to date for a long time. When she thought of using her magical girl transformation and changing her... Again, I love that this is a very short-sighted elementary schooler plan, not knowing that he'll probably notice that she doesn't age after a little bit, or that she'll eventually have to use her actual aged form. So, and it doesn't actually get him to fall in love with her aged form. So I love that it's really just a short-sighted elementary schooler plan. when she thought of using her magical girl transformation and changing her clothes to meet the person she wanted, which no one else seemed to have thought of. She felt like she could take on the world. In elementary, and I love how it isn't something that no one else thought of, it's just everybody else sees the problems with it. She felt like she could take on the world. An elementary school second grader probably can't have a middle schooler for a boyfriend, but a middle school looking girl in a relationship with a middle school boy won't look strange at all. With Akari to concern, or without Akari to concern her, shows heart's as good as May's. It wasn't exactly the best dating spot ever, since there were parents and other kids, but Tempest cuteness should get through all of that. She'd do anything for that. Before she went home, she looked at the dictionary to find romantic words to read. Then she found funny things to say. She bought every single perfume manufacturer in Tokyo that said to make love bloom. She prayed to God. She prayed to Buddha. She did it all for love. She'll see show at the children's gathering. She was still interested in Akari, but the insensitive Akari couldn't understand the subtleties of his heart. Or he was interested in Akari. Okay. It was both fortunate and unfortunate in that sense. Okay. Akari and Sho never started dating in middle school because she left as it's halfway. Okay. I think they meant the love. She'll put an end to that incomplete state. She said goodbye to Akari, whose house was in the neighborhood, and returned back home through the window. Before going to bed, she checked her school bag. She checked if she prepared gym clothes. I wouldn't be surprised if if Filuru didn't put threads on him to track him, though. But either way, before going to bed, she checked her school bag. She checked if she prepped her gym clothes. She checked if she properly completed her homework. She kissed the picture of Sho that she took. She prayed to God. She prayed to Buddha. Then she laid on the bed. Oh my God. There were rhythmless things that mixed between dream and reality that came to her head. She'll feel good meeting with Sho at Mount Haku. Then there's a possibility of a development happening. The mysterious enemies might show up. Afterwards, she'll fight off the enemies and protect Sho. In the end, she'll reveal her true identity. Then she'll have a relationship where they share secret identities. And like a suspension bridge, their emotional love will probably begin to burn up. No, it definitely will. It was much too happy. Being happy about this was a good thing, right? Was this something to be jealous or envious about? While May slept on her futon, she began to smile. Oh, I really hope nothing bad happens to the elements. The pure elements are amazing. I love Prism Cherry too, and I really like Filuru. We didn't get to see much of the other two. I really like Filuru, but God, and I'm kind of on Umbrain and Lady Proud. Also kind of on Marika and Mimi. But I like Filuru, and I love Prism Cherry and the elements. Princess Quake, Princess Inferno, and Princess Tempest are all hilarious. I connect with Prism Cherry and Princess Deluge really well. I feel like they're really relatable and cool characters. So yeah, I freaking love them, and some of these characters, as long as this doesn't end up like Limited, and of course hopefully it won't, but as long as it doesn't screw up any characters that badly, I feel like these are going to be some of my favorite characters in the entire series. So yeah, either way, God, Princess Quake is just the funniest. Oh man, the self-portraits thing was so good. And May's plans and her fantasies about how she's going to reveal her secret identity, they're both so good. But yeah, either way, I hope you enjoyed the video. Like if you did like the video, comment down there to tell me what you thought of this chapter, or this section of this chapter, what you thought of my first thoughts and reaction. I'll read the rest in the next video. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe for more, of course. Follow on Twitter if you want. And I can try to keep you updated there and stuff for the channel, or talk to you there. If you want a link to our Discord server to talk to me or more of us on Discord about this series or anything else, just ask and I'll give you a link. That's it. Thank you once again for watching, and I'll see you all next time.